phone is on silent.
Yes.
Mine is on air flight mode.
Flight mode means that call will not come in?
Yeah. All things suspended.
How many hours remaining?
These people, you're building, I hope they still continue to work.
Yeah, I work. Morning and evening.
That's good. What exactly does the man want to achieve in that station?
Yes. Bragging right. Bragging right.
Or another.
So we are set.
Okay. Hallelujah.
Disconnecting and action.
Thank you for joining us on CUG Connect, streaming live from G Consulting International Services, or what we know as G Learning Center Africa. I have with me Dr. Godfrey Ajayi Sunday and Mr. Oloyede on the show today to help you to dissect issues that pertains to how you can manage your business more effectively and efficiently. We will be coming to you with matters ranging from different economic policies of government and extant activities, processes, and programs that the government is introducing, and whether you, as a business person, as a CEO, can actually take advantage of them, or whether they are helping or hurting your business. So, but before we go in, let me welcome our guest on the show, Dr. Godfrey Ajayi Sunday, the Group Managing Director, G Consulting International Services. You're welcome, sir.
Wow, Mr. Sai Lume, nice to be here. Let me welcome us to the live situation room. We're in a crisis mode as a nation. People are protesting all over the place, and it becomes inevitable for us to set up this situation room to be able to talk to people live in a bid to try to provide a solution to these problems.
Thank you very much. Now, you heard it. This is the situation room, solving economic crisis in Nigeria. We're going to be doing this from now till when you and I can agree that the economic situation in Nigeria is a bit calm and positive. Before we continue, let's welcome Mr. Adeola Oloyede. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Sai, it's good to be here. You know, discussing Nigerian problems is very important.
Yes.
Because our people are actually on the street protesting. And what led to this protest is because people are angry and hungry.
People are angry and hungry. And I think if you are a Dangote, you might also be maybe not hungry, but you might be angry. And let me go to you, Dr. Godfrey. We have seen of recent, the crisis surrounding the Dangote refinery. What lessons do you think a small business or a medium-scale business or even a large business like Dangote can learn going forward, looking at all the issues that have affected, or surrounded the refinery currently?
Yeah, as MSME promoters, we always want to argue that, look, there are procedures for setting up businesses.
Yes.
And we have always been arguing that there's a need for a feasibility for you to be able to start up any business. And from what I can tell you right now, the crisis we're having in the oil and gas sector is that we don't have enough crude to feed into the Dangote refinery. Okay? So it takes me back to the fact now that was actually
a feasibility
conducted. Okay, so that would have given Dangote the idea of how much crude will be available, where it's going to be sourcing that crude from.
Yes.
Okay, so if that had been put in place, then I don't think we would be having this crisis. Don't forget, people even talk about modular refinery. okay, where the MSME is actually playing.
Yes.
Okay, so if you go to industry like the rice industry in Thailand, we have the mega rice mills, but of course we also have the smaller rice mill, and they all work in synergy to make sure that the product is available at the end of the day. So from all indication, if Dangote is having problem today with crude, okay, it may have probably just one of those things that I want to be the biggest refinery in Africa. So that could be a problem that, you know, he wanted to just achieve. Okay, then of course it could also be that, okay, I want to see how I can lead the way, okay, to try to solve the fact that once we have a refinery, our problem will be solved. So, but again, that is not always a solution. There has to be, for the MSME today, we are pleading and begging you, for you to set up any enterprise, make sure that you have a feasibility in place.
A feasibility study in place. Now, that is very important before I go to Oloyede. Now, you know, recently, about a few days back, we had the GMD of the NNPC Limited, Kiari, you know, making a statement, you know, suggesting that the issue that have to do with providing Dangote feedstock or providing Dangote crude has to do with the law. Because the PIB has extantly provided for how the crude that we have in Nigeria should be distributed. And he didn't make any provision that a particular refinery should be given a particular quantity.
So,
you know, the law kind of provides for a willing buyer and a willing seller.
No, but how do you now take care of the infant industries? How do you talk about localization? Okay, don't forget that Dangote has a big advantage. That refinery is in Nigeria, okay? It's employing majority of Nigeria. So capital flight and some of all these problems are solved.
Are solved by function of refining Nigeria.
So if you are talking to me like that, then you are saying that, look, the PIB needs to be adjusted.
Exactly.
So if we need to make amendment to be able to make the PIB to work for us, why not? The PIB is, I mean, they say quite a number of things. If we have the PIB, our problem will be solved. If we have a refinery, our problem will be solved.
And now none seem to be solved. The two of them are in place. Mr. Oloyede.
Thank you. I feel that from what Dr. Godfrey has said, there's probability that there was no real
feasibility study
done. You know, he believes that once he's able to set up that big one, which is a big one indeed, then we can take it from there. And then, you know, it was the prince that just came to town. Everybody was expecting somebody to solve a problem, and they now came to town. And as soon as they go to town, let's discover that the prince actually came to be prepared for him to be a good prince going forward. I think one of the problems we had is that if he had planned or had been able to get an oil exploration license, because it's part of it's part of the feasibility that Dr. Godfrey was talking about. If you want a big one like that, you get an exploration license. So as you are building the refinery, you also explore, and you are
so that your oil field can supply your refinery. So that kind of a backward integration.
PIB cannot stop you from doing that. And then what takes us to review the PIB?
What will it take us to review the PIB?
You know, the PIB itself took us almost 16 years to get it approved.
Exactly.
It's a wonderful thing we will be in Nigeria. So what we need to do now, if PIB is the one that is giving us a headache, then tinker with it. We can do first reading, second reading, third reading in a day, and then approve it. President will sign. So that we now have oil for this bank to produce it. Because his intention is to build that refinery, also to be able to give us job, give Nigerians job, also to help us solve our local problem. Definitely, if he gets oil from us, it will be cheaper to refine, because all those costs will have been removed.
I mean, you are looking at lessons.
Yes, for businesses.
For MSMEs,
exactly.
Okay? You know, we teach entrepreneurship. One of the things we tell entrepreneurs is that, look, at the heart of what you do is risk management.
Exactly.
Okay? So what do? You identify all the risk. Okay?
That surrounds
that enterprise that you want to set up.
No assumptions.
Yeah. So once you set up those and you identify those risks, the next thing is to profile. Which one is likely going to happen now? Okay? If it happens now, which impact is it going to have? So that will now help you to bring mitigation factors.
Exactly.
Okay, so what we are clearly facing is that beyond the fact that we're not sure that if feasibility
study was conducted,
then the issue of risk assessment and management comes up readily now. Because if you look at government risk, okay, to say that government can intervene,
or regulatory risk,
okay, that's the actual name now. Then you should be able to say, okay, if regulatory risk happens, what is it going to do? Okay, which is what is actually playing out now. So there should be a book, a risk management profile book that is opening up now to say, okay, government is saying, look, there was a PIB that says
willing buyer, willing seller.
Willing seller. Okay. Meanwhile, we have said oil is a major. Refining is a major problem going forward. So Dangote, as far as we're not even exonerating him, he also needed to do what he needed to do for them to be able to mitigate these risks that are playing out now. So at the end of the day, everything will work out seamlessly. So for the MSME, especially when you are doing government that relates around...
We're doing a business that is within the government
circle. So you must be able to factor all these risks and be able to mitigate them.
Now, one thing that I kind of continue to ponder on is the fact that there is a political expediency, there is also an economic expediency, or what is called a national security concerns. Okay. Now, I want to believe that petroleum, energy, as it were, ought to be a national security concern. Yes. Energy sufficiency ought to be a national security concern. And I was thinking, if this administration is, a bit more forward-thinking, a bit more proactive in their approach, even if the PIB does not make provision for a preferential kind of treatment of a Dangote refinery, for instance, there could be something that they could put in the works, to see how this is accommodated.
Yeah, you have the local content law, which says that, look, whatever you're doing, especially in the oil and gas sector, the local content should be given priority. Okay? Yes. And here you have Mr. Dangote went out of his way, borrowed money to set up a large oil refining capacity refinery. Okay, so if that is in place, I think whatever the PIB is saying, it should be given priority.
Now, talking about borrowing money, sir.
Yes.
Fitch Ratings has downgraded Dangote Refinery. Yeah. And Dangote Refinery have some bills. They have some loans they are supposed to pay back, I think by the end of this month. Okay. Now, with that downgrading, it becomes a bit more difficult. Let me come to you. It becomes a bit more difficult for them for Dangote Refinery to try to be able to access funding, from other sources to be able to meet up that obligation. Now, if that happens, if they fail to meet up that obligation, what happens? What are the implications?
What happens is that the creditors might have to come in, and then if they can't take they can't do full takeover, then there must be an arrangement in place to ensure that their money is given back to them.
And that might be taken over, partially
yes, or get more equity. And Dr. Godfrey mentioned, while we are not robbing, we are not trying to exonerate Dangote himself, he left a lot for this concern that came up.
Yeah.
Everything must have a contingency plan in your risk management. Why is it that there is no contingency plan for him? For his refinery?
But perhaps the contingency plan is to source for crude from America.
He's an international refinery. He should try and get oil from anywhere. Because that's his job.
All right.
All sources have to be built before he started his refinery.
Exactly. Before we go to the main issue that we have for today, we want to see how you can draw some lessons from what is happening to Dangote Refinery. Because when we teach entrepreneurship, we tell people, if you want to be like a Dangote, then do like a Dangote. You can begin to practice, the processes and strategies that Dangote is implementing or implemented before getting to this.
And that's to tell you that as an entrepreneur, you must do the needful.
Exactly.
Okay? Do a feasibility, do your risk management.
And do your contingency plan.
Plans. Because again, that's why all these things are being set up. It's not too late.
Yeah.
It's not too late, and I will also urge Dangote to play softly. Okay? Because again, for every nation of the world, okay, there is always the government of the day. Okay? So he should tread softly, okay, to be able to see how he can navigate this situation. We are available. He can talk to us to see how we can possibly help him to be able to put those missing gaps for him to be able to play along.
Thank you very much, Dr. Godfrey and Mr. Louis. Now, let's come to the real issue for today on the economic situation room solving economic crisis in Nigeria. Now, one of the key things that affects businesses, as we can see from our vantage point, is the issue of hyperinflation that we are currently experiencing in Nigeria. Now, we have seen Central Bank of Nigeria frequently increasing monetary policy rates, arising from the Monetary Policy Committee meetings. I want to ask you, Dr. Godfrey, what do you make of this continuous increase in monetary policy rates by the Central Bank, and how does it affect businesses going forward?
Okay, so as at now, the MPR is at 26.25%, and I can say that we have a CBN governor that is a bit
cautious. Let me remind you of your word.
On the cautious side now.
Yes.
Okay, and it took him time to take off, trying to study the situation. We had a former CBN governor that, we would say, play to the gallery. Okay, so because of that, Yemi Cardoso is a bit trying to be on the cautious side. It took him time to set up the MPR meeting. Now he has started, and he had a gradual increment in the MPR rate, bringing it to 26.25 today. But again, what we are fighting is an inflation rate that is above 40%. The margin between the MPR and the inflation rate is too high. Okay? The inflation rate itself is not a single digit, above 40%.
That is food inflation.
Yes. So there is a way you need to behave when your inflation gets to that level. You can see that Yemi Cardoso is a bit cautious. For him, he even wants to do a higher MPR rate. But because he's afraid of what the backlash will be, the inability of the entrepreneurs to be able to borrow, okay, to be able to fund their businesses. And that's what is facing as I talk to you right now. Don't forget that the banks wait for the CBN to set the MPR rate for them to be able to now
determine their
interest rate. And there is no way the interest rate can be below
the
MPR. Okay, so when you have a double-digit interest rate, then that is going to affect the MSME to be able to borrow and to be able to do business, for them to be able to get the economy to start working very well. So for Yemi Cardoso, he needs to be able to work with the other arm of the government, talking about the fiscal
policy side.
And that's why we are advocating. We have, on our own, have decided to set up
a situation room
today.
Situation room.
Yeah, so we're asking Mr. President, look, today, tomorrow, you need to set up a situation room. And you are
No, they should just adopt us as a situation room. So we're calling the president and his team to please log on and begin to watch this show, so that they will take the lessons that we are sharing on the platform. So they don't need to convene any other
situation room.
Yeah, situation room.
Okay, so if that happens, Yemi Cardoso should be there. The federal minister for finance should be there. The Federal Ministry of Agriculture should be there. So that if Yemi Cardoso is setting up his statistics, the fiscal side should be able to corroborate him, and they should set the Minister of Agri to go to the field immediately. Okay? The era has passed where we will do seasonal agriculture. Okay? Because they have opened up a 5-month window for them to be able to import food at low or no tariff rate. Okay? So in the next 5 months, as we're bringing in food, by the end of 5 months, we should be able to match up whatever we're bringing from outside at a competitive rate for the people to start to enjoy. So we are in an era now where we are suspending the economic policy to be able to see how we can jumpstart the economy for people to be able to eat and be happy at the end of the day, to be able to. Otherwise, this crisis, you can quell it, but you cannot stop the man who is hungry to be angry.
So I will come back to you on that, window that the government has opened to increase import of food items and food commodities into the country. to see how can businesses also position themselves for such a windfall as it were, because we are hearing that the windfall tax by the banks, which they declared, is somehow becoming a virtual declaration. That some of those funds that they say that they profited from Forex is no longer there. But before then, I wanted to speak on the cost of funds. How does the cost of funds, affect or help or hurt businesses?
A cost of fund cannot, if it's high, it cannot help the business. If it's low, it's okay. But the cost of fund that we have now, which definitely is above the 26.25, will not allow, it's going to affect financial management of MSMEs or small or even big businesses.
Yes.
Because how do you manage a 26.25%? And probably the banks will give you at about 30% because they need to make profit. But they too, their reserve ratio is lower. I mean, it's higher now. CBN ensure that as it's affecting the people in the country, it affects the banks too, that will give us the loan. So, doing that, the only way MSME can survive is to get a lower borrowing rate, which will affect, increase their production and same time increase the quality of products. You understand? Yeah. Also, when you have this high rate, and people are already away from, the best bet for you is to now go and look for funds somewhere else, which might be even be higher. And if you don't do that, that means your business might collapse. So when it collapses, you throw people to the labor market. You, yourself and your family cannot eat like before, or you may not be able to eat at all. All these things encompasses what Nigerian situation is now. And for us to survive, CBN, like doctor said, should find a way to sort it out. We are talking about food inflation, which is 40%.
Yes.
For over 40% or 40%. But if it takes MPR to 40 or near 40, then the whole thing.
Then the economy will collapse.
Now, you can't afford to do that.
There is something that is very significant that we are just hearing, which I just pointed out earlier, which suggests that earlier on the banks declared profits.
Yes.
From the 2023 and 2024 Forex regime.
Yes.
That happened. And climbing on top of that, the president and his team decided that they need to tax the banks. The CBN needs to tax the banks.
Yes.
While the banks were trying to react, the National Assembly, the Senate, went ahead to promulgate a bill, to support the taxation of the windfall tax. Now the banks are saying that the windfall tax is no more there. What is happening?
The windfall tax, I will call it AI-generated
taxes.
Profit. Because then it shows the type of people that we are in Nigeria. How come an industry will declare profit on a particular area? Now they are not saying it's no longer there. Are you saying there is no monitoring? There's nobody checking whether the actual profit is there or not? Or it was there, it now disappeared because of the tax that the National Assembly said they're going to charge on it. So I think the FIRS should let us know whether the money was actually there. Then somebody should pay. Because the banks are stupendously rich.
They are stupendously rich.
So why won't they like to pay tax on money that they gain on Nigerians?
Now, let me call on Dr. Godfrey. In this, I wanted to come to you first on the window that has been opened by the government, for the importation. But quickly react to this windfall tax.
There is something called the rent economy. Okay?
Rent-seeking.
Rent-seeking economy. When you have a disparity between the MPR and the high inflation, the gap is so huge. So it provides room for a lot of manipulations. Okay? When you take it to the dollar rate, the official and the parallel market. Once that difference became high, then what did the bank start doing? They started trading in dollars. And probably that is where they made those huge profits that we are talking again from. Mr. Noe, they mentioned the issue of regulation. The actual regulation, is it happening? Okay? So if somebody says he had this profit and is now telling you that
the profit is no more there,
then it should be called to question. So it means that we had like a balloon kind of economy that we're doing, that we need to actually now work on. So the realities are coming out. Okay? Don't forget, they mentioned that once we have a refinery, our problem will be solved. PIB, we had the fight about the PIB for quite a number of years.
Yes.
They said if once we put PIB, our problem will be solved. Okay? So now, they are now directing their attention to the high profit that the banks have declared to say, look, give us some part of the money. So they are now telling you that.
And the banks are revolting.
They are not.
They are protesting.
That reminds me of someone was telling me something a few days ago, I think yesterday. He said they were having a conversation, and this person will rise up and say the Constitution said. The other one will rise up and say the Constitution said. So one of them now stood up and said, every time you stand up, you say Constitution said, you stand up, you say Constitution. Let us bring the Constitution here so that it will just tell us what the matter is.
I think the matter in Nigeria, I told my wife, is that there's no truthfulness.
Yes.
We are not open people.
Transparency.
We are not honest people. You are making money in your own industry, and you don't want to open up to everybody to see what you have made, so that you can be taxed appropriately. It doesn't make any sense to me. We are not truthful. We only come to talk about the Constitution. Constitution says, the Constitution said this. Like I used to ask my wife, I said, actually, what is the actual matter? But nobody in Nigeria will ever discuss the actual matter.
So we should bring the Constitution to tell us.
Let's see it now. All of us can read it. A lot of things are happening. A lot of acts, even the Pension Act. Don't let me bring that one. Because a lot of things are happening.
But by the time you even bring the Constitution, they will now start telling you that it was a military
generated
Constitution. So now we need to do one for us. So our problem is quite big, and again, the only person that can solve the problem is the government. Okay,
as presented by the president.
Yes, and the unfortunate thing is that we have not even started this administration. People are already talking about the second term for Mr. President. They've said, okay, behave in such a way now so that you will be able to win second term. Why don't you solve the problem? I mean, make the people happy.
Finish your first term first. the what do we call the campaign promises?
Yeah.
The campaign
focus on it.
Manual, or what do they call it? Manuscript, or whatever they
manifesto.
call it. Manifesto. That you presented to the people. That is a contract.
Yeah.
How much and how far have you gone in terms of delivery?
No, they are telling you that we need time. We need time. That's what they are saying. Okay.
Now, thank you very much. Let's quickly go to another critical issue because, we have kind of itemized some key lessons on this show. Our interest is why providing a platform for us to share with the government some of the key recommendations that we think, based on expertise and experience, that could solve this economic crisis. We want to see that in between, you as a business person have some lessons that you can take away, in managing your business. Because of course, you as a business is part of the engine room for this country's economic growth. We want to look at another critical area where businesses also have a lot of issues, which is securing financing, especially in a politically charged economy like we currently have it in Nigeria. There are ample agencies of government that has been created to support that process. And I want to ask my guests, who have a lot of experience dealing with some of these institutions, how much and how far these institutions have been able to deliver on the expected outcomes, setting them up. Dr. Godfrey, let's begin with Development Bank of Nigeria.
Yeah, so when you have an economy that is having inflation that is above 40%, there is a way you behave. And one of those behavior is that government must now come to intervene directly, okay? By seeing how they can, make money available for the MSMEs. And of course, we have quite a number of those development banks in Nigeria. You have the Bank of Agriculture, you have the Bank of Industry, you have the Development Bank of this world. There's also even an infrastructure bank.
Yes, there's an infrastructure concessioning bank. Yeah.
Okay, so right now we should be filling them more. Okay, we should be filling them more. But now I don't know whether in the last since this administration started, I don't know whether you have heard anything from the MD of Development Bank.
I don't think so.
Okay?
Bank of Industry. Yeah. Nobody's talking.
Yeah, no.
The only thing I heard about Bank of Industry was that he was going to do a party somewhere.
So they should be the one telling Mr. President how to go about this activity. Why is
you talked about Taisolari earlier on while we were coming on the show.
Yeah. Taisolari in those days was People's Bank. In those days,
he was always making noise about giving money to the people.
Yeah.
And so, the president then.
Yeah, Babangida had to call on him to say, look, become chairman of People's Bank. And he gave him the money. And Taisolari came and said, look, I'll give people the money and they're not paying back.
Is that the case we're having currently? Because from what it is, sir, we are not hearing anything from the banks that you have just listed.
Yeah.
But I don't think statutory scenario is what we're having now. We have gone beyond that.
Okay.
There's some technology that can take care of all these things. Whether people get money and they'll be able to pay back. I think what we're having now, they're not proactive. Look, what Dr. Governor said is that we should be filling them more now.
Yes.
They should be blowing their horns. This is what we are doing. I have tried to research them. I went through their website. They were only telling you bulk figures. Nobody's telling you MSME in this industry, we have done so for them. And we can go and check. We should be able to know you, see you that have done something. Nothing. Even though you are doing it, you are not blowing your trumpet, then we won't know. And then their website should be
active,
robust,
interactive.
That anything you want, any information you want, you can get it. Do you know you might have to go to any of these banks, Bank of Industry, to go and get information. And you may not even get it. Because they tell you FY, what do you call it? Federal Information. Something that's supposed to be public. You'll be telling them that you can't get it. So, this head of these banks, they should do something. Like he said, the president cannot do all. His kitchen cabinet are the one trying to solve the Nigerian problem. No. All these institutions that we have are the ones that solve the Nigerian problem by telling him, look, Mr. President, we are set up to do this, fund us or give us the go-ahead to be able to do all these things. And you are talking about Bank of Industry. What of the newly created Nigerian Youth Investment Fund?
Yeah, we're going to come to the Youth Investment Fund. But I want you, sir, Dr. Godfrey.
Yeah.
I know you were once in the banking sector.
Yeah.
What do you see that is the biggest problem for some of these development banks that were not feeling their impact, like you pointed out?
Yeah, we have development bank, like I mentioned, Bank of Industry, Bank of Agriculture. The number one problem I think we have as a nation is the lack of database. Okay? So today, there is the Jackpot syndrome. Sorry, I want to tie. So what do I mean by Jackpot syndrome? If I collect money today from Bank of Industry and I use it to leave the shore of this country, how are they going to be able to track me? Okay, so you can see that Bank of Industry will tell you that, okay, we are careful because we are unable to track this when we give them the loan. But I think they should invest, okay, in the database. You have the, what's it called now, the National Identity Card.
Yes.
Okay, you have the NIM, you have NCC, you have
Voters card,
license,
all of that.
We should be able to tie up all this scenario. If we have a good database, okay, then
feed it into the international database.
Yeah, into the international database. Because again, if you borrow money from a place like America with your credit card and you're unable to pay, investment fund, which is hanging as far as I'm concerned. You have NISA Microfinance Bank. You have NISA PLC. They're supposed to be providing guarantees for all these institutions. So that's why we're saying that, look, these development banks are working in isolation. Okay? There should be a central point. And that's why we're saying, look, Mr. President, join us in this situation room.
Yes.
So that we'll,
very important, Mr. President.
We'll be able to tell you what the problem is. There must be a clearinghouse. Okay? You have announced 110 billion.
Don't reduce the money.
Sorry. They have announced 110 this thing on a daily basis because of our participation in AXMIS. A lot of people call us to say, look, we want to do business plan.
Yes.
So the question I will ask, what business has the Ministry of Youth got to do with disbursement of loan? That means the loan is already
in jeopardy.
A failure from day one.
It's in jeopardy.
Okay, so if Development Bank knows what to do today, they are the one who is supposed to be selling this to Mr. President. Give us additional 110 billion naira to be able to lend to the youth. We have criteria to be able to lend and recover this money at the end of the day. But when you have a 110 billion domicile with Ministry of Youth, it's already a failure.
Now, one of the things that we want to achieve, while all these problems are very, very intertwined and requires a lot of patience and process to follow, what we want to achieve is to also see a way how you, as a business person, can navigate some of these issues and make some progress. Mr. Lodi, in the midst of all this, how do you think MSMEs can secure funding in a politically charged economy as we have it?
Well, we need to define politically charged economy. Nigeria is one.
Yeah, it's one.
It's one. Lack of infrastructure. You can't have access to finance. You don't have opportunity. Even in internet services that we are asking MSME to go technology to be embedded in their operations, but it's not actually working. All these things are there. So for you now to survive in a politically engaged economy like ours, then you have to now become proactive.
Exactly.
You must have a superb financial management system. It must be superb. You must also have contingency plans, especially supply chain. The problem, I think I mentioned it in the last program I had in ADBN. I was talking about once the protest starts, most of the MSME don't even have plan for contingency that crisis can happen. So when crisis comes up, you already must have a plan. Like it's talking about risk management. It must be in place. So for you to now get money, it has to depend on the plans you have on ground. By now, you should be thinking of your debtors. How am I going to recover the money from them? Despite the crisis and you are not able to operate or you are not able to produce, you must have a system on ground so we are able to collect your money back. You know, the oil of every business is the working capital, especially production activities. When working capital, one company is resisting from it, you are going to have a problem because you can't be able to turn over the money. And once you are unable to turn over the money, then there's a problem. Yeah. So, and where you now have a gap in that working capital, you're not able to produce. Also, MSME should be thinking of how to take charge of their products. You must not do good products, quality products. Because when you have quality products, you will be center of attraction that everyone want to buy from you. Exactly. And then all the plans you have put in place as a response to protesting or this economy, people will always want to buy from you. And for you to get finance, you must be able to have record keeping, like you said. Look, banks want to see how your operations goes. There was a time when we were doing AXMIS, somebody came here and wanted to do the program. And Mr. Governor asked Access Bank to come around. The first thing they asked, can we see you? He said, see me for what? Can we see your books as to how much you have been able to generate, what you buy, how much you sell it, and the bottom line. That was how they couldn't give that particular woman the loan. You must keep records. And there are a lot of technology that can help you to keep your records. Accounting books, accounting software that can help you to do all those things. So it's important.
And of course, on this show, while we advocate for some of these things, we have the capacity in-house to be able to help you and enable you to achieve some of these things that Mr. Loide is talking about, your record keeping.
And also the main one is that the owner of the business must have capacity.
Must have capacity.
If you don't have capacity, then when you are trying to employ people, you must provide them very well. Who are the people that can make this my business to grow? Not the one that wants to see for me.
Now, there's something that Mr. Oluyede just pointed out, which, he just took it out of my mouth, which is the importance of supply chain management. Because when it's supply chain crisis, remember, we just came out from the COVID-19.
Yes.
All right? We came out from the COVID-19, and we're trying to recover from the COVID-19. We now entered the subsidy gone.
NSAS.
Oh, yeah.
From NSAS, we now enter
Subsidy gone. So 3 key challenges at a go. Dr. Godfrey, it's a supply chain crisis.
Yeah, I thought
what can SMEs do?
I thought you were going to say that we just enter one chance.
No. We are still on course.
No. Well, we're not in that one chance. Mr. insisted that Nigeria is one.
Yes.
So it's not one chance.
It's not one chance. We can't declare one chance yet.
Yeah.
We are still on course.
Yeah, we are in a serious supply chain crisis, rising from COVID-19. We moved to end-size crisis. A new government came on board. Then we're now in another crisis again. So all this portend danger for the supply chain for the MSME.
Yes.
Okay, so and once the supply chain is disrupted, it affects the final products. Because again, without a proper supply chain, then there cannot be, you cannot have that good product that Mr. Oluyede is advocating for. Don't forget that this government, they are talking about the Calabar, Lagos
Coastal
Highway. Don't forget that our road network has failed. Okay, and one of the programs that we had, I challenged the Minister for Transport to say, look, I want us to
drive from here to
Zungeru to Lagos and also drive. So virtually there are no roads. So why would you want to embark on a super highway as like the coastal highway when we needed to first of all have to fix our internal roads? And once our internal roads are working, the trains are working, the air system is working, then we'll be able to put a proper supply chain in perspective. I was in Bauchi one time, and I told them, like, look, Bauchi, there's a meat factory in Bauchi.
Yes.
Very robust, internationally set up. It's moribund right now. If that rice mill,
meat factory.
If that meat factory is working well, and there is,
I think I was on that trip with you.
Okay, so if that is working very well, you have Lagos does not have to set up an abattoir if they have a synergy with Bauchi, for example. So in the morning you slaughter the cow in Bauchi,
yes,
and in 1 hour you are flying it down
to Lagos. Okay, for the Lagos people to benefit, because again, Bauchi, Gombe, all this rest part of the northern part of Nigeria, they have comparative advantage in livestock production. Okay, so rather than try to see how you can move those cattle by road, for roads that are not already good, from Bauchi or from the north to Lagos. Lagos is a big market. You're looking at 20 million people in one small location. Yeah.
I often argue that if you throw food up in Lagos,
it won't fall to the ground.
It won't fall to the ground because the people are already there to consume.
Okay, the tallest man will grab it for.
So there's a need for us to identify those things that will make a good supply chain system, for us to be able to fix them. I mean, there's money to be made in this nation from all angles. And that's why we're telling the government that, look, sit down. The situation room, we're inviting Mr. President, we're inviting the CBN governor, we're inviting the Minister for Finance and Agric. If these 4 people sit in a room and you give us 6 months, we'll sort out this problem.
Yeah. Now, let's quickly begin to wrap up because of time. Mr. Oluyede, how can MSMEs, you're talking about contingency plan.
Yes.
How do you think MSMEs can actually deploy this strategy, this planning, as it were?
As for supply chain, I'll just give them a model, which is a PPR, which is a preparedness, prevention, preparedness, response, and recovery. if you have that in place as a management,
can you repeat that again?
We have the
preparedness,
prevention.
Okay, prevention.
Preparedness. Prevention because you must have a consistent plan in place already. Okay. That's why you are preventing it. But in case of course, you are prepared.
Okay.
That's the second one.
Yeah.
Then you have the response. Okay. What is your response? Any business model now that does not have a good response to situations like this, it's not ready to do business. So we now have response and we now have recovery. Okay. Because the main thing for your supply chain management is to be able to recover not up to 24 hours. And your business must continue to work out. So those are the things that I think they should do. To be able to MSME should look out for that. And we are here. You know, when we say these things, some people will be looking at us as who are these people? Are they in Nigeria? We're Nigerians. And we can do all these things here.
And I think we're in Nigeria, and that's why whatever enterprise that we're running is surviving. Okay?
Yeah.
The place where we operate from, we know we have organizations that, you know, they come rent properties, and before you say Jack Robinson, they are packing out. Okay? So we have solutions because we've been able to manage businesses. To manage businesses
in the economy. And that is why we are coming to you live.
Even in the midst of this, we are increasing salaries.
Exactly. Exactly. At G Consulting International Services, in the midst of the crisis, we are cruising, you know, and we can show you the template, you know, on how it is being done. So, but before we wrap up, like I said, we are overshooting our time already, but we want you to learn some things that the government is also doing that you can also take advantage of as a business. Sir, Renewed Hope Estate. Very quickly. Yeah,
very important. Housing is required. But again, as we're going to renew our housing estate, which is highly needed, it will provide employment, it will rejig the economy. Okay, so, but let's also forget that a place, the mega city, there are a lot of empty houses.
Exactly.
So how do we get policy in place for people who
affordable houses?
Yeah, no, people who own this property, let them pay tax. So by the time they pay tax, they will be able to get people into those properties, okay, for us to drive down the rent. Okay, so affordable housing is needed, and it's something that we have to go for.
So Renewed Hope Estate is live. You can check out the portal and say I can take advantage of that. Sir, student loan.
Whether you talk about Renewed Hope or not, just do any name you give estate, just build house.
Just build that for us.
And there must be a housing policy. You see, all this we are talking about, how much can we access to buy those houses? Like what? But also, student loan, good program, beneficial. Do you know the portal has over 7,000? Persons already applying for it. It's good. But like he said the other time, database for us to monitor who actually got the loan and how they go to pay it back. It's good. And then they should not leave out the state universities. Please.
Because currently it's for the federal
universities.
The state can also put their own student loan. But or they can create it in such a way that
from the attitude of our governors, do you think they are ready to even give any one cup out?
That is a matter.
And what local government is saying, local governments of chairman are saying that their governor is doing well. They don't want to.
Your last one, sir.
This is our first situation room at COG Connect, and we feel that look, the federal government need to replicate that. We are in a crisis situation. People are on the streets, so whether you quell those crises or not, the people are hungry. Okay, so they said the poor cannot sleep.
If the poor cannot sleep
because they are hungry, it means that the rich cannot sleep because the poor are weak. Yeah.
On that beautiful note, you are not going to be poor, and you will have money, and you will give the poor. Well, thank you for joining us on COG Connect, this special edition of the Economic Situation Room, solving the economic crisis in Nigeria. We'll come back to you again next few days with more issues and more solutions that can help you to drive your business to a more sustainable front. Until then, thank you. And don't forget to share this video so that other business owners can also take advantage of the lessons that are contained. Thank you very much, Mr. Loyede. Thank you, Dr. Godfrey.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you, our viewers. We'll see you again. Bye for now.